Hey, what's up, Reefer? So I am floating the new arrival. I have no idea why it's in such a huge bag. So like I mentioned in my previous video, I made a purchase from Magnifica's diver Dan of something that I have been looking for quite a while. And ultimately, that is what this tank is built for. But I thought it's supposed to be like a 5-inch max diameter piece, but for some reason it came in a huge bag. For comparison, this is 24 inches, right? And so it's like 12 inches bag, so it's ginormous. And it's heavy, it's filled with water. Came with one of the large size Magnifica box. And so right now I am equalizing temperature. I'm gonna grab some lunch, and after lunch I am gonna start dripping, and that's when I'll talk about what it is and what I have done to my tank to prepare for its arrival. Alright, see you really soon. Alright guys, so we're back, and after getting the Anemone out from the bag, it's a lot of bags and a lot of water. Look at how many layers this is. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's like there's like 8 or 9 levels of bags. Crazy. But it's super secure, a lot of water. The Anemone does not look huge. I feel like it is about like 5-inch size, but then of course right now it's not inflated. So who knows when it inflates. So while it's dripping, it's gonna be like about half an hour to 45 minutes. I'm setting about 2 to 4 drips per second. And I just want to show you what I did to the tank in preparation. So as you can see, the centerpiece, the frog spawn, I removed it from the top perch to make room for Ritteri Anemone, or Magnifica Anemone. Now, from my research, I understand that that particular anemone loves light, and also it loves chaotic flow. In specific, that in nature, you tend to find it right at the reef crest. That's like the tip of the reef, right underneath chaotic flow. Now, that's my tank's problem because I'm driving the water flow with essentially 2 sources up to this point. It's a gyre, which I kind of crippled to half of the output, versus it used to be like one whole bar. Now it's half. I mean, put the other part in. But right now it's being driven by half the gyre XF130 and also the really weak return pump. Now in my last video I mentioned that I would like to try putting in upgrading the main return pump to kind of upgrade the output. Unfortunately that did not work because the return pump, the new one that I got, was too strong, and the piping or the plumbing just simply does not support it, meaning that I hooked it up and then the water level just keep rising to the point of that where it's about to overflow, so I just unplug it. I realized that my plumbing is not wide enough to accommodate for more water flow, so regrettably I went back to my original plumbing. So the return is a little bit weak. So I realized that, okay, that's not going to work. I need something else to create that chaotic flow. So I went to Amazon and I bought this little guy. Look at this tiny little pump. It's also a propeller pump. It's called, let me hop over here. You can read it right there. It's Jiebao, J-E-B-A-O, Jiebao. And I got the smallest version that's built for nano tanks, and even this is really strong. So this costs about $50, and it comes with a controller like this. And you can see that speed-wise, I only have it set at 2, and it has different wave functions, and you can even program it to work with other Jiebao. I was really impressed. But then again, I mean, I've only had it for 2 days, so who knows how long it lasts. But based on Amazon review, everything looks good. So I'll talk about this pump a little bit more in depth in the future. But what I did is that I pointed towards that center column. That's right above the Montipola Capricornus, right next to the rosebud with anemone, that area. Actually, right above that area. So that's where essentially the 3 different water flow meets. the gyri, the jiebao, and the really weak return pipe. So that area is where the chaotic flow happens, and from there I'm going to place an anemone, magnificent anemone, and see where it prefers. Now, if you if it thinks that the pump in the back jiebao is a little bit too strong, it may park itself like tuck itself right behind a rock, or even climb that rock. Who knows? But if it does like that chaotic flow and strong flow, which I suspect that it may move out here, which is its ideal spot. And again, I built this aquascape with an anemone like that in mind. That's why there's that flat open space right there. Because this type of anemone, they do like flat rock to attach to. And right underneath the light, which is right smack in the center of the tank, and also right underneath chaotic flow. So hopefully the anemone will like this place, and we will see. And in terms of the frog spawn, right now I have it at the bottom. I will probably need to break it up if the anemone does decide to take residence right there. Now, if the anemone moves somewhere else, that means I may be able to move the frog spawn back. But if the anemone does stay there, does like that place there, I'm thinking about either putting the frog spawn right, this piece right here. There's a little arch right there. I'll just keep it right on the arch to kind of combine these two pieces. That may look cool. Or I might decide to break up this frog spawn and kind of place it along the upper structure, depending on where the anemone ultimately resides. So I'm gonna let it drip. It's gonna take about half an hour to 45 minutes, and I will come back and restart the video. Alright guys, so the Ritteri anemone is in. I kind of just well, I've driven for quite a while actually, about an hour and a half. And I just put the whole bag in the tank. Well, I discarded some water and then put the whole bag in the tank and maneuver the anemone onto the rock. Well, as you can see, I didn't really do a good job because the foot is kind of pointing. Well, it's not really touching a rock, but I figured it would sort itself out. It's kind of in a good position right now, so I turned down the flow actually. The flow was a little bit too strong, especially the little power head in the back, which I moved down a little bit. I moved down and pointed up a little bit more, blasting more towards the wall, because the flow was a little too direct. So I'm gonna wait for the anemone to attach first, and then slowly adjust the flow, dial it back up, and see if we can come to agreement with the anemone. But right now the color is more intense because it's not inflated yet, and wow, it's actually purple. Because most of the Ritteri anemone I've seen a yellow tip with tan body, so I was expecting something like that. And even though like in the Diver's Den description it's saying that it's a yellow tip purple bodied anemone, I thought, okay, it was probably just tan and it looks purple under the light, but it actually looks purple, which is awesome. So I think, okay, it's kind of folding over as if it's kind of unwrapping itself, and I'm gonna guess that it's gonna try to attach a rock and then maneuver to a place where it feels comfortable. So I'm gonna be watching this anemone like a hawk to make sure, number one, it's not detaching from the rock and floating away, and number two, that it is actively seeking a place that it likes, and it's not kind of destroying all my corals along the process, which I doubt. I feel like it's probably going to stay around this area first, unless the rock or the flow is too intense. It may start going down either the front or the back side, probably the front side, because the back side is directly facing the new power heads. But we will see. And okay, so after an hour and a half or so, the anemone's in the tank, and let's give it some time to settle in, and I will start recording again to show you the progress. Sadly, it's not meant to be, at least not tonight. The anemone is not attaching to a rock. The mouth is still closed tightly, but I don't want to just leave it overnight on the sandbed because it may get blown all over the place and it may get sucked up in the power head. So I pulled out my species container and I dropped them in the container, and hopefully it'll kind of acclimate a little bit to the new environments. And tomorrow we'll try again. I also left a piece of rock there underneath the anemone. It's actually one of those smooth rock that came with the clam. There's a little divot in there, and it's smooth. And I understand that this type of anemone likes smooth surface. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, I do not need to start the Cipro, the antibacterial treatment, because that means I have to set up a hospital tank. Oh man, never easy, huh? So I thought it would be pretty straightforward. Stick the anemone on a rock, it'll grab hold, it'll like the environment, that's it. But apparently that is not the case. So yep, still working on getting it attached, and right now it's actually opening up a little bit larger now. I think it's a little bit happier. So hopefully tomorrow it will be a little bit better adjusted to the tank environment, and we'll see how it goes. Good night, everybody. Sup, Reefers? So now is the following morning. I took the anemone out of the specimen container and placed it at the top of the rockwork again, hoping that it will stay. But it's folding up on itself. I'm not sure. It's not looking too good in terms of sticking because part of the foot is up. It means he may not like it there. However, my clowns like it. My clown started sucking on its tentacle, meaning that most likely they will hop into the anemone. So we will see. I'm crossing my fingers. I may have to set up a separate tank today. Simply, well, not simply, and just to start the antibacterial treatment, because overnight it did not stick to the specimen container, so it means, well, maybe it just doesn't like it. Well, his foot is not sticky anymore. Well, we'll see. We'll give it a little time, and crossing my fingers and feet, hoping that it will finally stick to the rockwork. Please do. Okay, here you can probably see a little bit more clear. See how look at the female clown. It's kind of sucking on the individual tentacle. I mean, it looks kind of vulgar, but I was told that this is a behavior they will do to an anemone they want to be hosted by before hopping in. Yeah, my clownfish seems to really like this anemone. Well, after all, this is their natural host. Oh, there she goes. There he goes. But on the other side, as it's drifting up, I saw that the part of the foot is up, so I don't think it's attached. So we'll give it some time and see. I'm really dreading that I have to set up a treatment tank, a separate treatment tank that's like 10 gallon, and start the antibacterial treatment because it's gonna last 10 days and you gotta do water change every single day. I gotta figure the logistic part out, but I'll try my best. Yeah, that's the foot. Look at that. It's not attached at all. I'll give it some time. Nah, that's not good. Did not like that spot. But sometimes they say that with a pair of clownfish, or with just clownfish in general, it helps the anemone settle in. So who knows? Although I was also told that Ritteri, this type of anemone, is the exception. The other anemones, you want to keep the clownfish away while they try to settle into the tank. With the Ritteri, they are the exception. Clownfish actually help them settle into the tank. We'll see. Alright guys, so now it's about 3:30 in the afternoon. That makes it about 24 hours since the anemone has been in the tank. Before, the foot was up, but now since the light came on, the foot seems to be down again. So my guess is that I had my window open earlier, which is right next to the tank, which is a big no-no typically. So I'm guessing maybe an enemy was moving towards the light, and now that the light is starting to kick on and ramp up, maybe it's staying put. I am not sure, but the foot is back down, which is good. It seems like it has slid down from the rock. Before it was like right above the rock in the morning, but it's moving its way down to the front. But it does so in a way that suggests the foot is still attached to the rock and it's not just kind of falling off the rock, which is a good sign. So you see right there, you can see a little bit of the foot that's still clinging onto the rock. So I'll take it that it's actually, the foot is actually attached to a rock and it's not just kind of, the anemone is not just wedged into that little crevice. So this has been a 24 hours update. I'm sorry it's taking so long, but yeah, this guy is just really touch and go, and it's pretty nerve-wracking actually. Okay, well, we'll check back again later. Alright guys, it's about 6 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's been about 26-27 hours. The enemy's been in the tank. I have no idea what's going on. The anemone has been staying in the same spot, or relatively the same spot, the entire day today, but it's almost like it's doing a somersault in that same spot. The thing that's puffed up, I think that's its foot. So it may actually be upside down right now in that spot. And I am about to leave the house to go to the gym. I'm really afraid that after I leave, it's gonna kind of tumble off that rock and blown around the tank and get sucked into the power head. That's like my worst fear. I mean, it's okay if it detached, but if I'm not home to kind of usher it back to either that place or somewhere else, or back in a specimen cup for it to recover, just gonna wreak havoc. So, well, it stayed in place for pretty much most of the day, so I just have to trust that it will continue stay in the same spot. Because looking at the top, right, it seems like a little bit of the foot is still attached, so I have no idea what this is. I'm so confused. It seems like the anemone has been like twisting upon itself. Yeah, I don't know. Just gonna let it do its thing. Clown loves it though. And anemone is definitely taking in water. It's gaining mass. Well, not mass, but gaining volume. It's puffing up. So that's good to see. I'm just not... I think that's a foot. There's no way that's a mouth. Yeah, I think that's a foot. Or maybe it's a fold, but I don't see tentacles coming out from that edge. Yeah, it looks like a foot. Alright, well, regardless, wish me luck. I hope that ending of the video is not going to be a cloudy tank with pieces of this anemone floating around. Oh, you see the frog spawns down there. And the Yasha Gobi actually moved into the frog spawn. It's the most random thing. There's a little, found a little opening in between the frog spawn, and she's living in there now. Alright, fellas. Wish me luck. I'll be back in like 2.5 hours. We'll see what happens. What's up, guys? It's like 1:30 a.m. I woke up trying to see what's going on in the tank. My god. The anemone is hanging on by a tiny grip, and the white part is all its foot. So it's stretched way out. I'm really tempted to stick my hand in there, just kind of like move it back up on the rock, but I don't know. I feel like this may be something that you need to sort itself out on. It's kind of hanging on a little bit. Let's wrap around the rock at the top, so I'm tempted to slow the flow So it's not acting like a paracel and getting blown all over the place, but at the same time, again, I mean, it knows the flow is like this. So it's doing this for a reason, so I feel I'm gonna try and trust it. And it's really uncomfortable to look at because as soon as that little bit let go, this guy is gonna just fall on top of all my other corals. And it's late, so I need to get some sleep. Still gotta work tomorrow. What to do? Alright, Reefers. It's not looking good at all. So when I wake up, I found an enemy up front on the ground. It kind of just like slid off. It's not holding on anymore. So I kind of put it position in the back corner before I go to work. I don't want to risk it getting sucked into the power head and stuff. And it's I can see things started coming out. It almost looked like it's gonna start disintegrating. So while at work, I placed order because I feel like I will need a hospital tank and start dosing Cipro antibiotic basically, because like usually, well, a lot of these anemones have issues surviving because there's bacterial infection while at the holding facility because the transit is rough from the collector to the distributor. So, man, I see like strings coming out. That's not good. So I got stuff coming in tomorrow. I did 1-day shifting, but I don't think that's soon enough. So I'm gonna rig something together. I have a 5-gallon tank that I've never used that the seller of this cube gave me. I have a battery backup pump for in case of power loss. So I have flow. Man, look at these. That's not good. And then I have the antibiotic. I was able to get it real quick. And right now I'm kind of cleaning the 5-gallon tank. It's crusty, man. I mean, I left it in the basement during the renovation, so it has like drywall dust. So I'm just like rinsing it out, soaking it. And I'm going to get 5-gallon worth of water, or probably 4-gallon worth of water from this tank and just kind of start the treatment. I can't wait till tomorrow. It's not gonna last. You can see things like coming out already. That's not good. So I'm gonna let the 5-gallon tank soak. I'm gonna grab some food. After I come back, I'm gonna start. Yeah, man. I'm not even sure if I have time to go eat. Nah, this needs to happen now. Okay, I'm gonna go set up the 5-gallon tank and then drop this guy in there and hope that helps. Cross your fingers for me. Alright guys, I know this looks terrible, but this is what I am able to rake up with stuff I got laying around the house. So we got the 5-gallon tank. I got the battery backup pump for aeration as well as circulation. If you look really carefully, you can see there's a little bit of flow. I mean, I would love more, but unfortunately that's all we got. I attached the pump to the mug, to the hand of the mug to create a circulation motion. And I added about, what is it, 125 milligram of Cipro, basically antibiotic that is supposedly more efficient for the Ritteri anemones. So right now it's looking a little sad. Oh yeah, one big thing I'm kind of nervous about is that I do not have an extra heater that I can use for a tank this size. Anything larger, I risk well, I could pull the main tank's heater out, but that means if the anemone get blown around, it may get blown onto the heating coil and get burned. So that's also one reason why I moved this tank upstairs, because my upstairs is usually a lot warmer than downstairs. Downstairs is about 70 degrees, upstairs is a little bit hotter, so it's not ideal, but it's a little bit warmer. So the closer to the tank, water temperature. So now, from what I understand, the antibiotic works when there's no light. That means I am gonna keep this tank dark, and the goal is to have at least have a good 12 hours exposure to the antibiotic for the light out period. And of course, when my other tank comes tomorrow, it'll have its light. I can even pull the LED light from my sump. It's a really respectable light as well, and put it over the new tank. But until then, tonight, we'll just have to get by with this little hospital tank for emergency, because it is looking bad. It was like about to melt, and stuff is already coming out. So I'm gonna leave it alone. It is gonna be loud. It's gonna be tough to sleep with this going on. But you know, just gotta do what we gotta do to increase the odds. I'm gonna let it go. Turn off the light. I'm gonna check on it a little bit later tonight before bed, and hope all is well. All right. Alright, reverse. So the hospital tank setup is here. Unfortunately, I think it's a little bit too late because the anemone has already started melting. So at this point, I think it's pretty much done. But since the setup is here, I think I'll just set it up and pray for a miracle. So this is a 8-gallon tank. It's all kind of all-inclusive, so it has a rear compartment with a nice little pump. And I purchased a heater as well to maintain the water temperature. So it has gentle circulation. I can crank up a little bit, but I think at this stage, let's see what happens. I think it's just melting. I see pieces coming off, so I think it's pretty much done. I really wish I had this set up handy yesterday. So I set this up basically in 15 minutes, pull like 8-gallon of water from the display tank, and then crush about 200 milligrams of the Cipril antibiotic into the water to treat the anemone, but I think it may be too late. I'm really sad about it. So I think yeah, I thought with all the corals doing well in my tank, I thought I was ready. And I feel like I could be ready if I had a setup like this handy on hand, where as soon as the anemone comes, I can start dosing it with, I can start treating it with antibacterial drugs. Versus I waited. I had the anemone in my tank for 2 days. I figured, okay, all right, tank condition is good. You know, a spot is good, light is good, current is good, recovered. But unfortunately, the anemone just did not hold on. Whether it's from not liking a tank, or whether it's too weak to hold on to the rock, I don't know. But by the time I decided to pull the anemone out, I think it's already kind of down on the path. And then with my terrible makeshift hospital tank, you know, it just did not really stand a chance. So yeah, well, we'll give it a day to see if any miracle happens with the anemone at this stage. But honestly, with it with like a corner started melting like this already, I think it's pretty much done already. Yeah. So this will probably be the last video. If the anemone does kind of go down after this, I mean, there's no point filming a mush. It's gonna feel bad. But yeah, I guess the silver lining is that now I have a little nano tank, or a hospital tank if I decide to keep it dry. I mean, this setup actually looks really good. It does have a LED light too, which I did not have time to set up. Right there. Yeah, it's a nice little 8-gallon tank, and a really compact heater that I can put in the rear compartment. Just too bad. Wish I have this even before I got an enemy. I got too cocky. I thought everything's going to go smooth. I was too optimistic, thinking everything's going to go right. And then when I actually need something, I need to put an enemy out. I was caught unprepared. And the delay, I think probably... look at that chunk coming out. That's not good. Yeah, it's probably done. So with the delay of getting a hospital tank and having the antibacterial set up, I think that did it in. Yep, so I am going to end this whole series of video right here because it has been a crazy week. And I hope you guys do not make the same mistake I did. If you do attempt this anatomy, just make sure you have... just make sure you have to plan to treat it with Cipro? I still cannot pronounce it. Just plan to treat it with that right off the bat versus having to wait and then set everything up last minute when you decided to pull it out from your display. Alright guys, this has been a pretty exhausting week and a really sad series of video actually. I don't think I've lost an anatomy since like way back in the Pecco days with the Seabass anatomy, the bleach out Seabass anatomy. So this is it is a pretty big fail on my part. Alright, well, if for whatever reason some miracle happens, then I will, you bet I will make an update. But otherwise, alright, later guys.